You're listening to the Bust-Proof Business Podcast, taking your business to the next level by taking you out of it. With our experience and proven results, we'll help you find the success that many crave, but only we can help you achieve. It's time to get started with your host, Greg Murphy.
Hey guys, it's Greg Murphy from the Bust-Proof Business Podcast. Today I talk with my good friend, Monica Busby. She's a really unique woman and she has a great story, a great heart for children. And we're going to talk about her ecommercekids.com, how she got started in e-commerce. It's a really great story. I met her last year and I've actually been a guest expert. You can't see my quotes, but it was basically my big head through Zoom at a conference table with a bunch of kids and parents around. It was really surreal how the video was recorded. I felt like Big Brother there. But it was a great time and they learned a lot and I was super happy to help. But she's on today. She's going to talk about e-commerce kids, how they're expanding and what it's all about. All right, so let's get into the show. Hey guys, it's Greg Murphy, and I'm here with my really good friend, Monica Busby. Monica, we just went to the CES conference, and we didn't get to spend as much time as I'd like, but we made time to be together today, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Greg. You're awesome. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon.
Yeah, you're on the West Coast, so it's still morning
That's
out
right.
there.
Good morning to us.
Yeah, good morning to you. Okay, so why don't first off you tell us about e-commerce kids, because that's how we first started speaking. I talked to the e-commerce kids group about books one time. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, it wasn't even a planned thing. I think initially it was supposed to be a homeschool project for my 12-year-old son, Jarrell, back in October 2014. And when I taught him just a few steps of retail arbitrage, like pretty much put it down to 3 steps for him and gave him a $120 investment to go to Toys R Us. He turned that $120 into $3,300 in 3 months.
Okay, let's take it back a second if we can, Monica. Tell people what retail arbitrage means, because there's going to be a lot of folks that don't know what that means. So can you tell us what retail arbitrage is? Retail
arbitrage is basically finding a product, whether it be any category, from toys to clothes, you name it. You find it in one marketplace, which could be either a store or an online store. You find a product in that particular place, for example, Toys R Us that we started with, finding that same product, and comparing that same product on Amazon and seeing the price difference. And so if you see a product that is $10, let's say at Toys R Us, and on Amazon that same product is selling for $30, then there's an opportunity for profit. And so that's basically what we're doing, is finding an item that we can profitably sell on Amazon.
Yeah, right. So it's items that for whatever reason, there's differences in marketplaces around the country. And so in some places, the demand for an item isn't high, and in other places, it might be through the roof. So what we can do then is buy an item for hopefully $10 in one part of the country and sell it to someone in another part of the country for $30.
Correct.
Okay, and so your son spent a couple $100 and turned it into $3,000 in 2 months.
In 3 months.
And
he was only working 5 hours a week.
Yeah, so that's amazing. And so then I guess from there, how did it grow?
Well, he asked me this question. He's like, Mom, I think we should teach this to other kids my age because we're getting ready for college, and I would like to buy a car.
Wait, he's 14 at this time?
He was only 12.
12. Wow, that's amazing. So your 12-year-old is already thinking about college, what he wants to put on his resume, and buying a car.
I've been ingraining that for the longest time. It wasn't just, let me do it, think about it one day. But we've been, talking about it and just kind of having a game plan for the next 5 years for him. And so when we were doing that, he mentioned that this is a possibility to grow. So it was like a ding, ding, ding light bulb moment for both of us and say, well, who's doing it right now? And for some reason, it's even in the general education arena, not just e-commerce, entrepreneurship is for some reason not being a big focus in the education community. And so maybe there is out there, I don't know, but I didn't find a lot, specifically with the focus of e-commerce. There's a couple out there that focuses on entrepreneurship in general, and just a class where you can create a business plan or whatnot, but not any education program that has any results driven businesses that you can implement right away. And so we came up with Ecommerce Kids a month later, January of 2015, and we didn't know how it's going to work. We just kind of like, well, what companies out there that kind of would mimic how Ecommerce Kids would look like? Well, we thought about Ivy League colleges, how they're set up, or we thought about Boy Scouts. How can we motivate these teens and preteens? And so we came up with actually various awards levels where when a kid joins, they go to different, like let's say once they join and they raise $5,000 in sales, they go to the next level of the 5K Kids Club. And there's like perks that comes with these different various clubs. And so we started doing those levels. And then after that, once we created the business plan all out, we started asking family and friends. And, that our first year, we served over 70 families with no marketing, really, just word of mouth. And those 19 of the kids that joined were pretty consistent in their business, and they generated over $500,000 in sales in their first year.
Wow.
So I'm a little bit, we were just like amazed on the result. And it was just the basic steps. We haven't even really gone through like more advanced levels, but that's what we focused on.
Yeah, I was amazed when so tell me about the workshops that you have for the kids, because so I was the book guy. I talked to them about books, and they had some really great questions. But
Right.
So exactly how does that part of Ecommerce Kids work?
As far as
interviewing with interviewing people, and what all goes into Ecommerce Kids.
Well, there's so many components to Ecommerce Kids. We have that level program, okay, and then we have a lot of different components as far as, okay, the parents have to be involved. There's because the kids right now are underage, you have to be 18 to actually have an Amazon account. Parents is a component of it where they oversee and also teach their kids at home and the business. And then we have Ecommerce Kids where they meet monthly as business owners in our masterminds. And then within these masterminds come a network of multi-million-dollar sellers like yourself that support Ecommerce Kids that can give a few nuggets here and there, and to talk about the story of how did you become successful. And so I think that was a huge component to our success, is because having that direct relationship with all of these components, and then accountability. Each mastermind, we figure out how we could help each other as business owners, and the kids come in as business owners to try to understand and how to help each other. And so there's all those components geared towards a bigger opportunity for success, not just, okay, let me teach you a curriculum and then off you go, and then you're on your own by yourself. And so we focus on, okay, how can we be results driven? How can we give back and help each other? And having people that we can look up to, that can show us like there is this can be a very lucrative business, and there's people that are doing it too, and not only people that are doing it successfully, but the people that are doing it successfully that we've been connecting to have been people that have been very well balanced in life, not just making money, but just the whole character building skills that they've developed, and and what does it look like to have a good family, and what does it look like to be radically generous as well? And so we look at all those different areas in our life. E-commerce has just been kind of the catapult to building something bigger for themselves, and then using those tools to expand in their life. So it's just it's just been an amazing journey. I didn't know that it was going to grow this big, and it's only been our second year. We have kids today that are in the 25K and 50K kids club.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So can you tell us then, so you had 19 or so kids really, or 14 or 19, I can't remember what you said.
19 last year.
19
yes.
That really hit it out of the park. What did you see that made those kids successful compared to the kids that didn't really take it seriously? Was it parental involvement, or was it just an internal motivation? What would you say, what was the difference?
There's several different. I think the kids today, at least the ones that I've encountered, are going through a lot of things beyond education. That's one of the things that I'm really looking at for 2017 is how can we, because kids are going through so much, like with school or with something going on at home or internally, they're still trying to figuring out who they are. They're in that identity, like who am I phase. So there's a lot going on in puberty, other than just finding a career. So I think the kids that didn't go as far as I'd hoped, because there's a lot of blockage in creating a business. Like when you start a business, you're almost like you have to be ready to start a business mentally, emotionally, physically, because it's not just something that you can create overnight. It's an ongoing thing, and you have to develop certain character, like being able to ship every week, being able to shop every week. Like that requires discipline. That requires being out of your comfort zone and being coachable and willing to learn. Like those little basic skills that hopefully they've learned in school consistently may have not been fully developed. Or maybe they there's an issue going on at home. There's a couple of kids that came in with single parent homes that I could see is a huge difference compared to a father and mother more involved, or maybe even the dad being involved. I think one of the things that I saw was a huge shocker to me was that my preteens, I would ask them, okay, so how, why are you doing so good in this business? Like I even asked the ones that are doing well compared to the ones that didn't do well. And they asked me, well, I'm not really doing it for the money per se, because I really like the fact that I'm spending more time with my dad, or I'm spending more time with my mom. And so that was just like, whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
It was a whole different perspective, because here I am thinking, okay, this is great for them to make money for college or whatever they need to do. They're learning these financial skills. But on their end, they're like, well, I'm spending more time and getting to know my family because we're out shopping together. And after we shop, we're getting ice cream.
Yeah. And it's easy too, because, I remember when I first off, I hate shopping. I'm not a big retail arbitrage guy, but I remember back when I was buying books one at a time, and it did feel like you're building something, but you're also able to spend some time with my family. I was able to spend more time with my wife doing things that were being productive, and my sisters and brothers, and it feels good beyond just the money. It feels good to be focused on the same thing together.
Right.
I want to go back to your son, and let's talk a little bit, if we could. I just spoke with, it's on my mind because I spoke with Eric Lambert a few days ago, and we talked about our children and about college. And I know that I dropped out of graduate school to focus on my business. I was a late bloomer. I could not have been an e-commerce kid. I could barely be an e-commerce adult. But,
Me too.
but yeah, so I was a little bit of a late bloomer. But let's say that your son, this really kicks off, and he decides that he wants to focus more on an aspect of working for himself rather than go through a 4-year college. What would you think about that?
I would support him 100% in what he really wants to do. Like, my goal really is to find help him encourage his passion, whatever that is. And if it takes him to a college that will increase his knowledge for his passion, I'm all for that too. But the funny thing is that he did tell me recently, he's like, Mom, I really want to see if I can grow this business. And so he's kind of veering away on the college thing, but I think he's looking at it on the perspective that he sees the business more and not seeing, like, we haven't even gone to a college and checked out what a college is really all about. So I think just wanting to make sure that he sees everything in all perspective, not just his e-commerce business. I want to encourage him to really check what everything is all about before he makes his full decision. But yeah, he's really excited about e-commerce, and it allowed him to travel, and we're planning to go to China next year. So we're planning to start a class with a tutor on how to speak Mandarin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just like all these little things that can also increase his education.
And is that for business? Is going to China, is that for business?
It's for business,
okay.
But I figure we might as well learn history and learn international business and learn the language.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. I can barely speak English, but I can assume that it would be great to be able to speak another language. Monica,
yeah.
Do you know that I took sign language in college? Because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I failed Spanish a couple times. So I heard the sign language was easier. So I have like 4 years of sign language. Now all I know is the alphabet and a few naughty words. That's all I remember now. So I'm less effective than I was before.
But I bet you, if you probably look back into it, you'll catch up on what you learned.
The thing about sign language, though, I don't know if a lot of people don't know this, but there's different, like British Sign Language is different than American Sign Language and French Sign Language. So yeah, just because you can use sign language in a country doesn't mean that you can use it in certain other countries.
That's very interesting. So we have our own language, American Sign Language?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called ASL. Yeah, ASL is what we took. Yeah.
You would think it's the same, right, overall, but I guess not.
And let me tell you this too. This is way off topic, but yeah, and American Sign Language and British Sign Language are significantly different, even though we both speak English.
That is so.
From what I remember, and people will totally email me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember, American Sign Language in a lot of ways is closer to French Sign Language than British.
They didn't, the company or whoever developed the sign language, they didn't think that they would want to meet with all the other people that.
Well, I mean, if you remember history, which again I don't, but I do remember back from reading, from being in taking ASL for 3 or 4 years, that I mean, when this language was developed not that long ago, because for a long time people that were deaf or that had other problems were just sort of like kept in homes and kept in institutions. And so it wasn't until relatively recently that they developed this stuff into, sign language into something that was more institutionalized.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know how much of that she's going to cut, but I would assume it's going to be a lot. Yeah, we went down a rabbit hole there.
We're going through education in general. So, somebody needs to actually create an ASL e-commerce program, because there's people that are deaf or they can't see. Doesn't mean they can't have a profitable e-commerce business.
No problem.
But that would be a huge niche.
And as you know, Monica,
creating videos.
for sure. But as you know, e-commerce is very inclusive because there's no type of like racial barrier. There's no type of like if you're blind, deaf, whatever color, whatever religion or background, it doesn't matter because all the stores look the same on Amazon.
And Greg, on not just racial but even economic level.
Certainly,
I mean, you could be broke and understand this and do very well and become wealthy at it.
I remember when I graduated my undergrad during the Great Recession, and I was looking for some jobs locally, and I've always been I'm losing a little weight now, but I was very heavy at the time, and I knew that there was a couple companies that were hiring, but I felt like they didn't even call me back, and I was really qualified. But this was before they did the overhaul of Obamacare, and like people that were smoking and people that were heavier have a harder time getting a job, and so that kind of pushed me towards e-commerce in some ways because it was just another incentive to kind of do it on your own. And for people that it's just a great business. You can take it in any direction that you want, but it's literally everybody's the same on Amazon and these other e-commerce platforms, no matter what happens.
And what's really fascinating too is that, when we were at CES 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking around at the people that I connect with and are really close to in our circle, and everybody just looks so different. And everybody are from all walks of life, different languages. We all get together in one location. Everybody doesn't even live in the same neighborhood. We're in different states. And we all have this one thing in common. And we all enjoy each other. It was just the most fascinating thing. Like I wouldn't, like just different religion, different looks. It's fascinating to me and it's exciting.
Because what brings us together is a lot of times the fact that people that we are around every day don't understand what's going on because we're the weirdos. We're the weird ones that have, we have our own business. We're not interested in working for someone else. And in normal society, it makes you're a little weird. And so we get to hang out with all of our brothers and sisters that are doing the same thing, having the same problems. And it doesn't matter if we look the same or not, or from the same neighborhood or not. We all have that same shared experience.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's so inspiring. And I think community should be like that. It shouldn't be in a box. And I'm always excited to go through these conferences. For those that are listening, I mean, I really want to push everybody to go out there and get out of your office or get out of your room to just meet these people in person. I know these Facebook groups are great, but it's just a different experience when we see each other in person and we help each other one-on-one in conversation, and just seeing what everybody is thinking and how we can grow. It's just amazing to me, and I'm always like a sponge when I go to these things.
Yeah, it can be great. It can also be a little distracting. I've gone before and felt like there's all these things I want to do now, but you need to learn how to stay in your lane sometimes.
Yeah.
But let's go back to before all this, because you couldn't just start this e-commerce kids movement without having a really deep understanding of how this whole thing works. So how did you get into e-commerce in the first place?
Well, it was because I was preparing Jarrell for starting a business himself as part of that homeschool project I was talking about. I've always been an entrepreneur since I was 18. But I didn't have an e-commerce business. I had a PR. I was into public relations for over 10 years in the entertainment industry. And so when I started homeschooling him, I figured I might as well teach him entrepreneurship. And I didn't know what that was going to be yet. At the time, I just knew that a couple of business owners that I knew said, hey, look into e-commerce. It might be the easiest step for him to start without much overhead, not paying people or buying a location or whatnot. So that's kind of where I came in. It was Amazon came on my lap as a fluke. I found people like Chris Green that I followed for that year, and had him I got him started like in October of 2014. And that's kind of how the story began. It wasn't something that I wanted to do for myself. It just organically created through him. It was
So,
awesome.
okay, so that was the beginning then, is when you created E-commerce Kids was the beginning of all this.
Exactly.
Wow.
Beginning of the whole thing.
So you just had to jump in at the deep end, and they did $500,000 in that first year?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you won't believe what's going on this year.
Yeah, I know. I looked and I see that I'm looking at the website now, ecommercekids.net.
.com.
I'm looking at
You're able to get the .com. It's so awesome.
Good. Terrific then.
Yeah. So ecommercekids.com.
Well, when I Googled it, it was still .net was what showed up in the search results.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to tell my web guy to try to fix that.
Oh, yeah. This site is
updating everything.
Very nice. Yeah. This site's very nice. Well, yeah, so let's look here. Now, that's even more here. I see now 4 different e-commerce kids groups now.
Yes, we have actually we're on our 5th.
Oh, wow.
We have 5 offices now. And we have, I think we're at 40 consistent families this year. And they're generating over 300,000 in sales a month this year.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That's intense.
We're talking about a month now. So I'm just kind of like, this is so mind-blowing. And it really is just, our focus has just been just this, mastering the super basic stuff of what an e-commerce business is, and then expanding little by little from there. So that way they master one thing at a time. Because there's so many different ways you can make money in this business, infinite amount of ways.
So you're tracking at 3.6 million for the year, and you haven't even if those monthly numbers hold up, and you haven't even gotten into Q4 yet.
Nope, we're not. These are numbers from summer.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's going to be big numbers.
It's going to be a big one for October, November, December for sure. I'm excited, and a lot of them is going to be their first Q4. So I really want to see how they go through it, and we're going to have a big party in December. I'm scheduling a huge Christmas party for us just to celebrate accomplishments and where we've been this year. So maybe Dave and Buster's. We'll play some video games.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I hope my daughter is entrepreneurial. I'm trying. She's almost 4, so she can't scan books yet. But we have a nursery at the warehouse, and she's here most days.
Having her exposed like that, and the kids are so smart. They're seeing and absorbing everything, even at 1 year old. And for her to be with you and spending time with you is huge for her. I mean, this is going to be really big. And for her to see how you talk to people, how you manage your business, it's going to help her grow her character. So good job, Daddy, having her around.
I'm trying because what I hope is that I hope that she wants to work with me when she gets older. And if she doesn't, if she wants to be an artist, or if she wants to do something like that, at least she'll have hopefully the tools to where she'll be able to use the same types of marketing to say, hey, sometimes you have to stand out in a crowd, and no matter what you do, if you're spending the time to create it, you want people to see it and be exposed to what you're working on.
And, being an entrepreneur doesn't just mean e-commerce. I mean, it goes across the board of just building those skills, entrepreneurial skills. It's universal. So whatever she wants to do, you're already teaching her. Just seeing how you handle relationships or handle your day-to-day. And some days you go in there and you're like, I don't want to do this right now, but you still go in. She still sees that. So I look at it that way. I'm hoping that I'm trying to be a good role model for my son. I fall on the wayside. I'm not perfect, but I try, and I'm glad that he also sees my imperfections and that he doesn't have to be perfect. I think sometimes as parents we get really we push our kids hard sometimes, and it's because we love them and we want to know that they do better. So it's just the balance of that, understanding that we're imperfect, but we want to also push ourselves.
And I, in raising my daughter, I always look at, if you look at it in a vacuum, like there's times every week where I'm like, she's going to become an adult. She's going to be sitting in front of a therapist one day. And this is out of everything we've done, out of all the thousands of hours I've read these stupid Goodnight Moon book to her and everything else, she's going to remember this one time. But yeah, it's tough. And for a long time I was like, man, I wonder what her first memory is going to be. Like, what is it going to be the first thing that she remembers? The more of these, snuggle reading parties we do, the more likely it is that it's going to be something cool. And I mean, again, none of us know what we're doing, but I think the plan is to just screw the kids up a little bit less than we were screwed up by our parents.
We try.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that my son already told me what he remembered as a kid, and he told me, well, Mom, the first thing I remember is you dropping a bottle on my foot. That's the thing that he remembers the whole time.
That's nice.
As a kid, I'm like, that's it? And I'm just like, okay, great. I need to work better as a parent.
Right.
But that's what he told me. Hopefully, your child will remember a much better memory.
So tell us this, with Busproof, it's all about building a business that can run without you.
Right.
And so with e-commerce kids, I'm wondering if the kids are going to have to be worried about having a business that's where they're self-employed in the future, or if you guys are working towards, giving them the information about infrastructure and how we can build systems and automating it somewhat.
Oh yeah, for sure. That would be the ultimate goal for their business. But at the moment, they're in a phase of still building their character within the business. What that means is just like learning diligence. What is that? Shipping every week or shopping every week. So we're kind of grilling that in their minds. So if your sales are down, why is your sales down? Well, I forgot, I didn't shop for 2 weeks. Well, that's what happens. Here's your results. Here are the consequences. And so just keeping that in the forefront for them to understand the things that they do in their business is what the outcome is going to be. So, you sow what you reap is what I tell them. Just those character building skills that they could utilize beyond e-commerce is what I'm teaching them now, because they're still in the baby stage of just understanding what they can do, not necessarily what the e-commerce business can do, but what they can do. So we're still in that phase. Automation probably be in the next, because our curriculum is actually a 5-year curriculum. So maybe in their year 2 or year 3 is where we really focus on, okay, what systems, because now that they've developed these skills, once they master, then how can we teach it to somebody else so that they can master, whether it be an employee or somebody that they're going to partner up with. So right now we're still in the beginning stage, but for the beginning stage, this results has been amazing. So a couple of them, I think, are very ready to hire or duplicate themselves in the new year. So we'll see how that turns out. But yes, it's one of our ultimate goals. That's
what it is right there. I can't imagine being that ambitious at 12 and 14 and 15 years old. I just can't imagine where I would be today. If
you know what it is though, Greg, I think what's been pushing them is our environment. Because we meet physically every month, it's almost like a checkup for them. And so just like how we are with our Facebook groups and how we build our community, having that community for them, it almost leaves them with the passion to always move forward or to compete with their fellow kidpreneurs. And so I think that's been the key, is just having them involved consistently and ongoing, and keeping that in the forefront. That way they can grow. For those that didn't come to the masterminds or weren't involved even in our own little Facebook group, are actually the ones that kind of tapered off. I think that's just been I think one of the big key components.
Yeah, I mean, it basically boils down to masterminds, right? I mean, for a lot of us, is having that accountability.
Accountability.
And that kind of competition is not a bad thing, right? To give you that extra like kick in the butt sometimes to say, look, I know that Charlie's over here, he's going to go out shopping, and I got to see his smug face the next time I see my friend.
And those are awesome. Instead of being part of a group in school that have the peer pressure of going out and missing class or trying, some kind of substance. Now they're in an environment of competition, but healthy competition, where it helps them grow themselves. They help you grow each other. And so, no, I take this anytime. I wish I had this circle around me when I was growing up, or else I would have, had better decisions as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, this is the absolute best time in the history of the planet for this kind of thing. The reach of a company like Amazon all over the world, especially here in the U.S., and the fact that there's almost zero barrier to entry. And I mean, anybody can do it. And the reason why people succeed, what we're finding out, even from like your own, this basically has been a social experiment. And what we found through e-commerce kids is that if you work hard, it doesn't matter if you're 12 years old or 100 years old. If you work hard and build something, it can happen. And Chris Green and these other guys, Chris, I know Chris. These guys aren't rocket scientists, but what they do is they work hard and they tell you what they did, and then that's basically all there is. That's the difference, is elbow grease.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just I really think I have to thank our entire community. I think it's such a unique Amazon community that we have. It's different from any other industry that I know of. Industries out there are really out for themselves, and I think Chris Green and a lot of folks that were in the pioneering stage have really built this environment of positivity. I know not everybody in the group is perfect, but we have a bigger purpose than just trying to run our own business. And that's inspiring to me. I think that's why e-commerce kids really grew the way it did, is because we have sellers out there like yourself that is willing to give up time to talk to other people and help each other grow. And hopefully that could be a pay it forward where my kids could do the same and I could do the same. I really think that community should be like that, not keep everything for myself and make my own business work.
I'm also looking here at you say you have a store coming. So I'm looking at the website and it says you have a store coming. Are you having a brick and mortar store, or is it going to be e-commerce as well?
There's a big possibility that we are going to have a brick and mortar store.
Terrific. I love brick and mortar.
Yeah, I figured a lot of these kids are asking, Monica, what are we going to do with all our, long-term storage fee products that just kind of is sitting in our garage, and can we sell it somewhere? And I'm like, well, let's see if we can either do a store or, that's kind of in the near future, I think. And also having our own e-commerce store on the website that would help, school supplies, that would have a lot of our logos in it. We really want to start doing some branded products, creating jackets for different various kids clubs. So it's also internal, like an internal merchandising store for our group.
Well, you know that we do the Dollar Book Swap in Dayton, and we started one in Reno. And you have talked before about maybe being able to work together. The next time that you're around, I'd love to have you come out to the shop. But I think that having a brick and mortar, and especially with something like books, it's super rewarding in a way that it's not when you're behind a computer screen. And I had no idea how much better it would feel to sell books to people in my community than it did to sell them to strangers on the internet.
Oh, yeah. I've been seeing all your posts and what you're doing with your community. It's that needs to be duplicated, dude.
Yeah, we're trying. We're going to try. And we're hoping for, folks like you that we could partner with to expand into other places.
Talk more on how that can be a possibility out here. Libraries are just libraries, but if we put a purpose behind what we're doing and giving people that go in there an experience, because kids are kind of veering away from books more and focusing more on video games. But how can we make books fun? Is going to be awesome undertaking. Getting them back to reading would be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, these guys are going to have more free time sooner than a lot of folks if they're going to do $300,000 a month in sales.
They just need to start duplicating so they have more time. That's the next goal, is duplication for sure.
That's amazing. Okay, so are you going to be, because I know there's going to be people that are listening that are excited to learn more about e-commerce kids. But so are you guys have any plans to expand? I see now you have something down in Atlanta.
Right. We have an Atlanta office. We have, if people are in California, that's where our headquarters is at. In Los Angeles, we have 3 offices around the Los Angeles area, and we just opened the Bay Area. But I'm looking to definitely expand to 15 more locations. I'm looking at 15 next year. That's my magic number. But it just depends on the partnerships that I'm creating in those cities. I'm definitely, that's the growing phase, but I don't want to overextend myself for sure. I just want to make sure that the partners that I have in those areas are following the same steps, the same curriculum.
That's amazing. Well, how can we get in contact with you, Monica? I
am a huge Facebook person, so Monica Busby on Facebook. You could instant message me. Our website as well as ecommercekids.com. We have eCommerce Kids on Instagram, and you could email me. Monica@ecommercekids.com is also great.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Greg. You're awesome. You have a great day.
So Monica is an iron woman. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how much of it made it into the actual interview. We had a few audio problems, and I apologize for that. But she actually at one time biked from Columbus, Ohio to Washington, D.C. or some other place out by the coast. It was pretty amazing, and I don't even like to drive that far. So she's doing that. She's running e-commerce kids. She's expanding it. And all of this, she just was basically based on an assignment that a teacher had for her son. So that just shows you the kind of person that she is and the kind of motivation that she has for what she's doing and what she's going to be doing for her family, for her son. And she's a real inspiration. You can definitely check her out. Check her out on Facebook, and you can also check out eCommerce Kids. Also, guys, don't forget busproofworkshop.com if you want to sign up for some of our future training webinars. You can learn more about our workshops at busproofworkshop.com. And remember, make today count.
That's all for this episode of the Busproof Business Podcast. Be sure to point your browser to busproofworkshop.com to sign up for our mailing list and to get your opportunity to enroll in one of our specialized seminars, guaranteeing you continued results in typical Busproof fashion. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to taking your business to the next level right here on the Busproof Business Podcast.